Pharmaceutical companies spend more than $50 billion a year on research and development. India is a major destination for drug trials, but there's concern that many Indian patients are unaware of the risks and are participating without informed consent. India correspondent Richard Lindell reports from Indore.
In the last years of his life, every breath for Shri Krishna Gehlot was a struggle. But the chronic asthmatic thought he'd been handed a lifeline when his doctor offered him free drugs and a few hundred rupees for food and transport to the local hospital.
The medicine that they gave me did not make me well at all. My condition deteriorated.
Just days before his death, Mr. Gehlot recorded a video statement where he said he had no idea he was on a drug trial, nor was he aware of the risks. 6 months later, his family is still looking for answers. The doctor has refused to supply them with a sample of the drugs used in the trial or a copy of the forms he signed.
He had signed all the papers the doctors had asked him to sign. The papers were in English and he didn't know how to read much.
Shri Krishna Gehlot was treated here at the MY hospital in Indore, Madhya Pradesh, where thousands of people have been involved in drug trials. Most of the patients who come here are poor and illiterate. Amulya Nidhi runs a local NGO campaigning for patients' rights, and he has evidence that Mr. Gehlot's case isn't isolated. Under the Right to Information Act, he's obtained an internal government report into 32 deaths and 49 other serious adverse outcomes from drug trials. All of the consent forms, including Mr. Gehlot's, were incomplete and didn't comply with regulations.
This written, there's a study has been going on him, and he is agree with all these things, and there is no signatures, no thumb impression of any witness, though it is compulsory to take the witness.
But the chairman of the hospital's ethics committee, Professor K.D. Bhagava, says gaining informed consent is a fraught process.
Most of the time, they do not like to get into the details of it because they won't understand it to the letter, and therefore they leave it for us.
Dr. Arun Bhatt is a spokesperson for the peak body that counts multinationals such as Bayer, Pfizer and Boehringer among its members. He says the industry regularly conducts audits to ensure informed consent, but says there's not enough information to comment on Indore's MY hospital.
We are not regulators, we are not inspectors, we are not auditors directly, so we cannot really find out whether the truth is what the report says of the Economic Office wing or what the Parliament report has said about one of the trials. See, these reports are not in public domain in the sense of anybody can access this. I mean, we would like to have them available on a regulatory website for us to check. They are more in the media. But yes, for any hospital site which we select, we do a check before the trial starts. But yes, if some hospital has such a finding, we would have to be, I think we probably may not take such a hospital in trial at all.
Authorities are now investigating the issue of informed consent at MY Hospital, as well as serious allegations of conflicts of interest and fraud. Amulya Nidhi has obtained an internal audit report which shows doctors being paid directly by drug companies to recruit patients for trials.
If you see the money has gone 8 lakhs rupees. The money has gone to the individual doctor, investigator who was responsible for this.
810,000 rupees to the doctor?
To the doctor.
But we see here the hospital facilities are being used free of charge.
Yeah, so this has happened in lots of trials.
If there is something happened, it is not in my knowledge, and I certainly hope that it was not a part of the drug trial conducted under the MGM Medical College Ethics Committee.
In India, multinationals outsource trials to clinical research organisations, which then subcontract to local hospitals. Dr. Arun Bhatt says the drug companies are removed from the process and that responsibility for informed consent and managing conflicts of interest lies with the hospital.
The ethics committee at the site has to become more empowered. I mean, the regulations are very clear that they can do a lot at the site, but today they are not doing much.
The hospitals are also doing very little to find out the cause of patient deaths during drug trials. Post-mortems are rarely carried out, and the doctors conducting the trial are often also responsible for recording the cause of death. The system creates mistrust among affected families, including the Gehlots, who are now fighting for compensation.
The doctors are not doing their jobs, they are doing personal work. These drug trials are a business. They get money, but somebody else loses his life.
Across India, just 22 families who've lost loved ones have been compensated. They've been paid around $3,500 each, a figure recommended by hospital ethics committees. The government is now reviewing the level of compensation and is also promising to strengthen the laws and broaden the powers of investigators.
We are not against for drug trials in India. We are talking about there should be safe, ethical, regulated drug trials should be happen in the country. Not against trial, because we need drugs are important. It's for the safety of the patients. But we want regulated and ethical trials should be done in the country.
Estimates of the number of patients on trials range from 30,000 to 2 million. A poorly regulated industry is fueling speculation of unethical practices in hospitals and leaving families like the Gehlots bitter about the treatment they receive from doctors in whom they put their faith.